In the year 2419, Earth stood alone in the cold dark of space, a blue marble defying the endless reach of the galactic Thraxian Empire. The Empire, a union of over 700 alien species, stretched across thousands of systems and had never lost a war. Its ships were massive, its armies countless, its weapons terrifying. When they arrived in Earth's orbit, they came not with fire at first, but with a message. A ship the size of a small city darkened the skies above New Geneva, and its shadow fell across nations. From it, a glowing figure appeared on every screen, every satellite feed, every device. Ambassador Thel, tall and draped in silver robes, with a voice that echoed like wind through metal, gave Earth an ultimatum. "You are one world," he said calmly. "We are an empire. Submit to our guidance, offer tribute, and your kind will be allowed to thrive under our rule. Resist, and you will cease to exist." The world fell silent for a moment, not out of fear, but from the weight of the decision that followed. Earth's leaders met in urgency, not just presidents and generals, but scientists, hackers, soldiers, survivors. No one spoke of surrender. They remembered the history of their world, how Earth had endured war, plague, disaster, and still survived. They had lost much, but gained more in unity. The humans were not naive. They knew the Empire outmatched them in every known measure of power. But they also knew what the Empire didn't. Humans fought best when they had no choice. Quietly, Earth activated Project Iron Shield, a defense system buried in orbit long ago, forgotten by many, remembered only by those who feared this day might come. Invisible to the eye, it woke with silent energy, targeting the enemy ship as it hovered with confidence. As Thel waited for Earth's surrender, the first beam struck. Brilliant, precise, blinding. The Empire's flagship shuddered. A second beam followed, then a third, and within seconds the great ship cracked open like a broken moon, fire and debris falling into the atmosphere. People across the planet watched as the unbeatable vessel collapsed in silence. Cheers broke out, not in celebration, but in disbelief. Thel's signal vanished. The stars above Earth were no longer calm. Across the galaxy, the Thraxian Empire froze. Never in its long reign had one world refused so completely. Never had anyone destroyed one of their flagships. For the first time in generations, the Empire tasted the bitter edge of uncertainty. On Earth, no one smiled. They knew what would come next. The real war had not begun, but it was coming. And when it did, humanity would be ready. They had sent a message louder than any words. Earth would not kneel. The destruction of the Thraxian flagship sent shockwaves through the vast corridors of the galactic empire, and far beyond its reach, ripples of disbelief spread like wildfire. On Earth, the initial relief of victory quickly turned to grim understanding. This act of defiance would bring the full wrath of the Empire down upon their home. But the people of Earth did not falter. Instead, they harnessed the rising fear into a fierce determination. The Empire, unaccustomed to resistance, was now focused on crushing this single planet that dared to challenge its might. In response, it assembled a fleet of over 300 warships, vessels of overwhelming power and menace, destined to lay siege to Earth and enforce submission. Yet while the Empire moved with the confidence of a conqueror, Earth prepared, not to fight a war of armies, but to wage a war of wits. Deep underground, in hidden command centers, human engineers and tacticians worked tirelessly, employing a different kind of weapon: cunning and unpredictability. Cloaked drones, sleek and nearly invisible, slipped through space like shadows, gathering intelligence and sowing chaos among the enemy's fleets. Human hackers, brilliant and relentless, infiltrated Thraxian communication networks, twisting their signals, turning order into confusion. Gravity wells, manipulated by Earth's scientists, created deadly traps in space, drawing massive warships helplessly into fiery deaths in the depths of nearby stars. Each strike was precise, deliberate, and unexpected. The Empire had never encountered an enemy who fought like this, who used the void of space itself as a weapon, who saw the battlefield not as a place, but as a complex puzzle. And behind these tactics was a discovery by Dr. Raina Ward, one of Earth's foremost physicists whose research into the Empire's warp lattice network revealed a critical flaw. This network, the foundation of the Empire's faster-than-light travel, depended on a fragile web of connections. With careful targeting of key nodes, Earth's forces could isolate entire star systems, cutting them off from reinforcements, supplies, and communication. As Earth's tactical teams executed these strikes, systems began disappearing from the Empire's map, lost without warning. Panic spread through the ranks of the Thraxian commanders. For the first time, their vast fleets were unsteady, their control slipping through fingers like stardust. Meanwhile, the citizens of Earth watched the stars with bated breath, every flicker of light carrying stories of bravery and sacrifice. The young pilots of the Nighthawk Squadron darted through enemy patrols with daring that defied logic, each mission more dangerous than the last. In the shadows, saboteurs risked capture to plant viruses that crippled enemy systems, cutting their power and plunging them into darkness. The human spirit, born of struggle and survival, ignited a spark that spread beyond Earth's borders. News of the battle reached occupied planets, whispers of hope carried in secret transmissions. Some alien populations began to question their loyalty to the Empire, wondering if resistance was possible. Yet the Empire was far from defeated. Its leaders vowed to crush Earth completely. They unveiled new weapons and strategies designed to root out every last vestige of defiance. The threat loomed large, but Earth did not cower. Instead, the people grew stronger, united not just by survival, but by a shared belief that even against overwhelming odds, freedom was worth fighting for. As the war in the void escalated, every small victory built toward something greater, a promise that the day would come when the chains of the Empire would break, and no world would ever again live under its shadow. The defiance of Earth had sent a shockwave through the vast Empire, and far beyond the immediate battlefield, a movement was quietly growing, one no one had expected. On planets long enslaved by the Thraxian Empire, whispers of rebellion began to stir. These worlds had lived under the heavy hand of occupation for centuries, their cultures suppressed, their voices silenced beneath layers of control and fear. But the news from Earth, the single planet that had dared to stand up and destroy a flagship of the Empire, lit a fire in hearts that had long been cold with despair. In secret meetings on distant moons and hidden stations, leaders from these oppressed systems spoke cautiously, but with growing hope. They saw in humanity's struggle not just courage, but a new possibility, that the Empire was not as invincible as it claimed. Earth's tactics, so different from the Empire's own rigid and predictable strategies, inspired them. It was not brute strength alone that had caused the Empire to falter. It was cleverness, unity, and a refusal to submit that changed the balance. Slowly, these occupied worlds began to disrupt the Empire's supply lines, ambushing convoys and sabotaging communications. They attacked small garrisons with guerrilla tactics learned from intercepted Earth transmissions. The effect was staggering. The Empire's sprawling control started to crack from within, its own forces growing wary and uncertain. On Therax Prime, the glowing capital of the Empire, corridors that had once thrummed with confident orders were now thick with whispers of doubt and fear. Among the High Council, some began to question the cost of relentless conquest, while others blamed each failure on unseen traitors and weakness. Amid this turmoil, Earth's efforts did not slow. The liberation of XR3, a mining world long stripped of its freedoms, became a turning point. Using a combined fleet of human pilots and rebel forces from nearby systems, Earth's coalition overwhelmed the garrison, freeing the planet. The victory was broadcast in secret transmissions across countless systems, a rallying cry that stirred even the most cautious into action. Resistance was no longer a dream, but a growing reality. The Empire, shaken and desperate, retaliated with cruelty and precision. They unveiled the Starbreaker Array, a massive weapon designed to reduce an entire planet to dust. The superweapon, hidden deep within Empire space, was their ultimate answer to the rebellion. a threat not just to Earth, but to any world that dared resist. Its power was unlike anything the galaxy had seen, a concentrated blast capable of erasing life itself. The news sent a chill through the coalition. Earth's leaders knew the stakes had never been higher. To stop the Starbreaker array was not just a mission of survival, it was the last hope for freedom in the galaxy. Against the looming shadow of destruction, human resolve only hardened. Plans were made in haste, not just to defend, but to strike at the heart of the Empire's power. A small elite team was formed, chosen for their skill, courage, and unbreakable spirit. They would take a ship, the Resolute Dawn, deep into enemy territory. Their goal was clear, but perilous. Infiltrate the Starbreaker array, disable its command system, and destroy the weapon before it could be fired. The journey ahead was dark and dangerous, filled with unknown perils and enemies lurking at every turn. But for Earth and the growing coalition of free worlds, there was no other choice. The breaking of chains had begun, but to finish the fight would demand every ounce of human strength, ingenuity, and sacrifice. And as the stars watched silently, the fate of countless worlds hung in the balance, waiting for the courage to tip the scales toward freedom. The moment had come for the Resolute Dawn to slip past the Empire's iron grip and enter the darkest heart of enemy space where the Starbreaker array loomed like a grim monument to destruction. And aboard the ship, Captain Elias Kale and his crew prepared with steady hands and fierce determination, knowing that any mistake could mean not just their end, but the end of hope for billions across the galaxy. The silence in the command room was heavy as sensors scanned the vast emptiness ahead, alert for enemy patrols, mines, or the lethal traps set by the Empire to catch any who dared approach. But the crew trusted in their training and the advanced stealth technology woven into the Dawn's hull, designed to mask their presence even from the most sensitive sensors, while the crew's minds raced with thoughts of what lay ahead. Deep inside the sprawling complex of the Starbreaker array, where an artificial intelligence controlled the massive weapon, an intelligence built to be ruthless, logical, and unyielding in its mission to destroy Earth without hesitation. Every jump through hyperspace was tense, the stars streaking past like ghostly lines as the ship dodged enemy scanners and patrol routes, at times forced to hide within asteroid belts or slip through uncharted wormholes to evade capture, and each moment the crew knew that if the Empire caught them, it would be the end of their mission and of the fragile alliance rallying behind Earth's courage. Inside the ship, Dr. Raina Ward, the physicist who had first uncovered the warp lattice flaw, worked alongside the hacking specialist, Jara Tess, to prepare viruses and code that could breach the AI's defenses, their fingers flying over consoles, weaving digital threads of sabotage and disruption that might be the only chance to stop the array's devastating power. Outside the windows, the Starbreaker array grew larger, a massive structure stretching into the void, covered in sharp edges and glowing with ominous energy, its engines humming with the promise of destruction, yet its very presence inspired a burning resolve within the crew. They were not merely intruders, but the last shield between annihilation and survival for countless lives. As they approached the outer defenses, alarms suddenly blared. A patrol fleet had detected them, and the Dawn's stealth systems flickered under the assault of electronic warfare, forcing Captain Kyle to make quick decisions, ordering evasive maneuvers that sent the ship twisting through gravity fields, avoiding energy blasts and missile swarms with a precision born of countless hours of training and unyielding determination. The bridge was a whirlwind of focused chaos, with each crew member performing their tasks flawlessly, the tension so thick it could be cut with a blade, and yet beneath it all, a quiet confidence grew. This was a fight they would win or die, trying. Once inside the perimeter, the Dawn slipped through a narrow docking bay disguised as an Empire vessel thanks to forged codes and visual cloaking, allowing the team to board the array itself under the cover of limited detection. Within the towering corridors of the Starbreaker, the air was cold and sterile, the walls humming with raw energy and alien technology. As Kyle's team moved silently, aware that the smallest sound could alert the biomechanical guards, half machine, half living organism, tasked with defending the weapon at all costs. The crew's nerves were stretched thin, every shadow seeming to hide danger. every corner potentially an ambush. But they pressed forward, guided by Ward's hacked schematics that mapped the labyrinthine interior, leading them closer to the AI core. Along the way, they encountered traps and puzzles designed to delay or kill intruders, but human ingenuity shone brightly. The team used quick thinking, makeshift tools, and their deep knowledge of alien technology to bypass security systems, dismantle energy barriers, and avoid detection. As they neared the core chamber, the tension reached its peak. The AI itself, a vast network of quantum processors and synthetic consciousness, was aware of their presence, responding with defensive protocols and flooding corridors with electrified barriers and automated sentries. Kale ordered his team to split, drawing attention away from Ward and Tess, who worked furiously to upload their virus into the AI's central node, the clock ticking with the countdown to the Starbreaker's first firing sequence. Sparks flew as the virus infiltrated the system, corrupting data and shutting down power conduits, causing the entire array to shudder. The AI fought back with logic and calculated countermeasures, but it was no match for human unpredictability and adaptability. With a final command, the self-destruct sequence was initiated, and alarms blared through the complex as the crew raced back to the dawn, the structure beginning to collapse around them in a chaotic storm of fire and debris. The resolute Dawn escaped just in time, jumping into hyperspace as the Starbreaker exploded behind them in a dazzling burst of light that could be seen across 100 systems. In the quiet moments after, Kale transmitted a message across the galaxy, a declaration of human will and freedom. We do not bow, we never did, and neither should. The explosion of the Starbreaker array sent a powerful shock through the galactic Thraxian Empire, a blast that echoed not just through space, but through the hearts and minds of every system bound under the Empire's rule. And as the dust settled, it became clear that the destruction of the Empire's deadliest weapon was more than a tactical victory. It was a symbol, a rallying cry for freedom that could no longer be ignored. Worlds once silent under the Empire's heavy hand, now whispered loudly in dark corners of spaceports, in secret meetings aboard hidden ships, and in the coded transmissions exchanged between resistance cells across light years, all sharing one message: the Empire was vulnerable and change was possible. Earth, standing at the center of this growing storm, had transformed from a lone planet into the heart of a vast coalition, an alliance of species united not by conquest, but by the shared dream of liberation. With each passing day, planets joined the cause, offering fleets, resources, and their courage to the fight for a galaxy free of oppression. And in this new alliance, Earth did not seek domination but partnership, sharing knowledge and tactics that had turned the tide against the Empire, teaching former captives to defend themselves, to think boldly, and to fight with the intelligence and resilience that only freedom could inspire. Yet, the Empire was not defeated, only fractured, and its loyalists fought fiercely to maintain control over key systems, using propaganda, brute force, and fear to hold their grip, while secret agents worked to sabotage the alliance from within, making trust a rare and precious commodity in this new era of war. The struggle for survival was far from over, and the cost was high. But humanity's spirit, hardened by centuries of challenge, remained unbroken, guiding the coalition through the darkest nights and the fiercest battles. As battles raged and planets lit up with conflict, Earth's leaders convened in a new council, one built on respect and equality among the free worlds, determined to shape a future where no species would ever again be shackled by tyranny, where peace was not imposed by power but earned through cooperation and understanding. Monuments were raised in orbit around Earth, commemorating the sacrifices made and the victories won, bearing the words that had come to define this age. When Earth refused to submit, the Empire's worlds were no more. A phrase etched not just in metal, but in the hearts of all who believed in freedom. And yet, amid hope and triumph, the future remained unwritten, its path uncertain, filled with challenges that would test the resolve of every world and every soul. But now, for the first time in history, the galaxy knew this simple truth. United by courage, inspired by defiance, and led by the will to be free, even the mightiest empires could fall, and from their ashes a new dawn could rise. a dawn shaped not by fear or submission, but by the endless potential of beings who dared to dream and fight for a future where no one would ever be forced to kneel again.